like it was like hanging off the edge. Like, well, it was
all right. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for your patience. We had a presentation before this, so took a quick break. All right. Welcome everyone to the regular council meeting of the Port Angeles City Council for Tuesday, February 17th. Already, it is Lunar New Year, Gung Hoi Fat Choi. I learned that in kindergarten. I'm probably not saying it right, but here we are. All right, can we have the roll call, please? Oh, wait, before we do, sorry. Deputy Mayor Carr is ill this evening, and I'm hoping that someone might be interested in moving to excuse her from tonight's meeting.
I'll make a motion to excuse Deputy Mayor Carr from tonight's meeting.
Second.
All right. Any opposition to the motion to excuse Deputy Mayor Carr from tonight's meeting? Please state your opposition. All right. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now, if you could do the roll call, please, Carrie, that would be great.
Mayor Dexter.
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Present.
Councilmember Hodgson.
Good evening.
Councilmember Miller. Here. Councilmember Schwab. Councilmember Schwab.
Here, sorry, someone talked literally when you said that, and I couldn't tell if that was for me or not.
Thank you. Councilmember Suggs. Here. Manager West.
Present.
Attorney Bloor.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. If you can please stand as you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we do have a ceremonial matter this evening. It is, more than halfway through now, but Black History Month in the United States. And so I'm going to read a proclamation honoring in recognition of Black History Month. And we don't have anyone receiving it this evening, so I'm just going to read it as a good reminder of how important diversity is to our community and how diversity makes our community a better place. A proclamation in recognition of February 2026 as Black History Month. Whereas the Port Angeles City Council takes pride in joining together with people throughout the country in recognizing February 2026 as Black History Month. And whereas Black History Month pays tribute to the contributions that African Americans have made to American history in their struggles for freedom and equality, and deepens understanding of our shared history. And whereas inequality and injustice still linger, and it should be the aspiration and responsibility of every person to advance the American ideals of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. And whereas we encourage all residents to recognize, confront, and eliminate barriers and injustice with fearlessness and determination. And whereas we remain committed to honoring diversity, equity, inclusion, and mutual respect as fundamental principles, and work to promote these core values throughout our community. And whereas the City of Port Angeles is proud to honor the history and the many contributions and achievements made by African Americans to economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development of our community, state, and nation. And whereas the observance of Black History Month calls our attention to the continued need to battle racism and build a society that lives up to its democratic ideals. And the City of Port Angeles continues to work toward becoming an inclusive community in which all citizens, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contributions and potential contributions to our community. Now, therefore, I, Kate Dexter, Mayor, on behalf of the City Council of Port Angeles, do hereby recognize the month of February 2026 as Black History Month in Port Angeles, and that we, as a community, build a thriving, innovative, and equitable city where we are all proud to call home. The City of Port Angeles celebrates Black History Month by recommitting to fight for the equity, opportunity, dignity, and voting rights to which every person is due. Thank you. We'll pause for, yeah, usually if there's someone here, it's easier. All right, thank you. Are there any late items from staff?
Mayor and Council, no late items this evening.
right. Are there any late items from council? All right. Hearing none, we will go to our first public comment period. For those who wish to make a public comment, the first public comment period is items on tonight's agenda. And it is a 3-minute comment period. You can state your name and whether or not you're a resident. And if you're here in council chambers, the lectern will keep track of your time. And if you are calling in, or in the WebEx rather, I will keep track of your time. So if you are joining us via WebEx, now is a good time to raise your hand if you wish to make a public comment. And no one signed up. Anyone in council chambers? Okay, well, and I don't have any hands online. We do have a second public comment period. That is open public comment period for any topic related to the city that you wish to address. So I think we can do the consent agenda pretty quickly. We do have 3 guests this evening. So we'll start with consent and then go on because we don't have a whole lot of other business before that. Is there anything anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? Is there anything anyone would like to add to the consent agenda? Drew?
Yes, I'd like to add J2, utility easement and subordination agreement between the Port of Port Angeles and the City of Port Angeles.
Okay, any opposition to that? Okay, we can add that. Anything anyone else wants to add? I guess we can't add presentation, so there's only one other item. Everyone wants to hear that presentation? Okay. Then I will go ahead and read the consent agenda. Minutes from February 3rd, 2026. Expenditure report between January 24th, 2026 and February 6th, 2026 in the amount of $3,544,591.07. Approve electric utility easements. 2025 pole testing final acceptance contract 2025-03. Right-of-way services for Ennis Creek Fish Barrier Removal Professional Services Agreement with Common Street Consulting, PSA 2025-47. Material purchase, 3PH 1500 kVA pad mount transformer. Laserfish annual renewal. And utility easement and subordination agreement between the Port of Port Angeles and the City of Port Angeles. Any comments, questions, or a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right. Any comments or questions? All right, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read. Anyone opposed to the motion, please state your opposition. All right, hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. And we will move on to our guest speakers. But before we do that, I'm going to turn it over to Nathan to give us a little overview.
So Mayor and Council, while we're bringing up the presentation for the first speaker, I'd like to just share a little bit of background information on why we're here this evening. And Council is planning on a detailed work session coming up on April 7th. And at Council's February 3rd Council meeting, Council asked for a series of presentations and opportunities to discuss homelessness prior to that April 7th work session. And with that, staff reached out to a series of individual organizations, many identified by individual council members, to come forward and present to City Council on the issue of homelessness over the next few council meetings. So tonight, we're fortunate to have Habitat for Humanity, Salvation Army, and 4PA here to present. On the March 3rd meeting, we'll have the County Homelessness Task Force, the Clallam County Harm Reduction Program, and Peninsula Behavioral Health. And at your March 17th meeting, we have Serenity House, Taffy, Public Peninsula Housing Authority, the Waterfront District, and OPCC here to present. Additionally, we have invited a number of churches that have not yet replied to the invite. But tonight, I'm looking forward to introducing Colleen Robinson from Habitat for Humanity. She's our first speaker this evening. We also have Captain Crystal this evening from the Salvation Army and Joe Descala from 4PA. So we're very grateful to all of you for participating this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to start first thanking our city council members, city staff, and community members for the opportunity to share an update about our projects. Habitat for Humanity of Clallam County celebrates our 35th year this year. Beyond the headlines and social media, learn our real story. Next slide. So our objectives tonight, what is Habitat for Humanity of Clallam County? We'll do an update on our Port Angeles projects. How are we impacting our community, and how can you get involved? Next slide. This is our mission statement. Our vision is a world where everyone has a decent place to live, building homes, community, and hope. Every action aligned with this simple, powerful mission. Next slide. Who we are. These are our affiliates' core values. Build a better future, making community, showing care, and hands-on. We worked on these as a team and strive every day to keep them at the forefront of our work. Next slide. A little bit about our impact. This is our impact, and while Habitat for Humanity of Clallam County turns 35 this year, Habitat for Humanity International celebrates its 50th year of providing housing solutions in every state in the U.S. and 60 countries around the world. This anniversary milestone gives us the data that proves we are changing people's lives through affordable home ownership and home ownership repairs. Next slide. This is our team that I am very, very grateful for. Approximately 2/3 of our staff work in our 2 Habitat stores in the 2 different locations, part-time and full-time. We currently have 2 full-time staff on our construction team and affiliate staff. And we like to have fun and take pictures. So there you have it. Next slide. This is our board of directors. This is actually a year old. We once a year meet together and we do a board advance because we don't retreat. And this was last year's board advance in March down at Sunny Shores and Squim. The volunteer board provides strategic direction. Professional staff handles operations and daily management. Commitment to openness, ethical practices, transparency, integrity guides our every decision. Next slide. Now we get into the fun stuff. So hopefully all of you can get a good look at this. In November of 2021, Habitat Clallam submitted a bid for the property at 4017 Fairmount Avenue. February of 2022, our bid was accepted by the city of Port Angeles, and we purchased the double lot for just over $29,000. Once the lot was cleared, it waited for the new homes until we finished our 14-home community at Maloney Heights. We dedicated the final home in August of 2023 and began working on this project. In May of 2024, we received our building permit. Habitat Clallam is very grateful to the city of Port Angeles and their forward thinking to clear a path, no pun intended, for affordable housing, such as waiving permit fees, allowing a fee in lieu of for sidewalks on Fairmount Avenue. And while we qualified for NICE funds for a manhole restoration, the things you learn when you become a developer, to accommodate this fourplex, it was ultimately decided that Habitat Clallam would not be responsible for that manhole restoration. Next slide. So with this project, Habitat Clallam was testing all of the new innovations at the city of Port Angeles was bringing to the table. The city staff was learning, and so was Habitat Clallam. Testing these new opportunities was not always a smooth process, but every step of the way, staff was accessible, meeting with us multiple times as we worked through the process. Thank you to all of you. To date, we have spent about $650,000 on this project, and we're about 95% done. The fourplex we call Ketchum Veteran Cottages in honor of our longtime employee, store director, Sarah Ketchum. Honoring her family's military service has been a goal of our affiliate for a number of years. Sarah's grandfathers both served in World War II. Of the 39 counties in Washington state, Clallam County has the highest population of veterans. That said, there have been some challenges in finding qualified, willing veterans to fill these 4 units. At this time, we have 2 family partners, and we will be moving in as soon as we receive the certificate of occupancy. We continue to solicit for 2 more veteran families. If you know of any veterans looking to own their own home, partner with Habitat, and are able to pay an affordable mortgage, please send them our way. Next slide. Once 4017 Fairmount Avenue was cleared and we had a house plan, we realized our veteran partner families would be looking out the front of their unit at the blighted property next door, which is this property. Not very appealing, to say the least. So we pursued the owner that was no longer living there. However, there were many squatters and people on the property that made all of the neighbors very concerned for their safety and the safety of their property. Ultimately, the owner agreed to sell us the property, and we made quick work of clearing it out. Next slide. So I think there were 6 vehicles, there was a boat, there were 3 buildings. The home had been partially burned out. We took out 2 5-gallon the water jugs filled with meth needles out of the whole site. So it was quite a project, but we got it done, and that's what it looked like. Next slide. In the next few months, we will begin this single-family home, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath with a 1-car garage, serving another local family with the opportunity for affordable home ownership. So we'll begin that project. We already have our building permit. We're very excited. And we will begin that as soon as we wrap up the veteran build. Next slide. So let's talk a little bit about addressing misconceptions. Habitat homes are free. Homes are not given away. Transparent homeownership selection, fair contractor selection, and grant compliance. We welcome questions. They strengthen our accountability. Next slide. Families are encouraged to attend an informational meeting about Habitat Clallam's home ownership process. Families complete a detailed application. Once vetted, a blind selection process is conducted by the board of directors. The deciding factor typically comes down to need. The last home selection process at Maloney Heights, we received 25 applications for 1 home. Not all met the criteria, but the majority were from families living in a travel trailer on family or friends' property. Next slide. We serve families eligibility depending on grant funding, either 60% below AMI, area median income, or 80% below area median income. Blind review selection for fairness and equality. In a perfect world, it can take as little as 4 months and up to 18 months for the initial screening to purchasing the home. And that depends on building and contractors and weather and all of those wonderful things. Next slide. How can you help? Donate. Every dollar builds homes, repairs lives. Volunteer, contribute time and skills. Advocate, support affordable housing policies. Shop and donate at the Habitat stores. Sustainable shopping with purpose. Every effort makes a difference. Next slide. These are 2 Habitat stores. I'm sure you're used to the staple in Port Angeles. That store's been here about 18 years. And I want to say in 2017, we applied for a facade grant from the city of Port Angeles and spruced up the outside. It is a go-to for many things for people in the community, from if you need a couple of nails to finish a project, all the way up if you're looking for some new appliances. And then the store in Sequim, we've had a presence in Sequim for about 5 years now. And that store is a little bit different. We didn't want to compete with ourselves, just 17 miles apart. So that particular store we call our boutique store, and it is mostly furniture and home decor. Next slide. So, join the movement. This is an actual picture from the Veterans Build. A number of you were there at the wall raising, and we hand out markers to everyone, and we get to write messages to the family that stay on those 2x4s in the walls and just wrap them with love. An invitation to experience Habitat firsthand. Together we build stronger, healthier communities. Community building requires collective effort. Next slide. Questions?
Thank you, Colleen.
You're welcome.
Are there questions from council? Drew,
Yes.
go ahead.
/question/comment. Is the Port Angeles store still closed on Mondays?
Yes, we're closed Sundays and Mondays, open Tuesday through Saturday.
Is there
Sorry.
any possibility of being open on Mondays someday? I'm off Sundays and Mondays.
Dang it. And we close at 5:30, so that makes it even more challenging. I will take that up with the store director. Thank you.
Amy, go ahead.
I'd be happy to do some shopping for you. If you're really good at shopping. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for becoming a developer.
Not for the faint of heart.
Yes,
I'll
I
tell ya.
can't even imagine. I guess I have a comment and then a question. My comment is I'm familiar with the property that was pictured. The blighted property was a pretty regular stop for me when doing outreach. And so it looks so much nicer now. Thank you for being part of that solution. I think you hinted at the answer to my next question with the travel trailers, but my question is, how many, roughly, in case you don't have the numbers with you, new homeowners are coming in from homelessness?
We are, if you think of housing as a continuum, homelessness as at this end and homeownership is at this end, and we are more this end. I have not, in my experience, taken someone from homelessness to owning a home. It's a process. They travel through, they get into a shelter, then perhaps they get some sort of subsidized housing, Section 8, and they get some stability. Now they can have a job. They have some place to have their mail sent to. Their kids get into school. Typically, their credit cannot be very good. They take some time, they clean up. And as they're moving through that continuum, they're opening up the space behind them for someone else to come up. And we're at the other end when they're ready for that home ownership. And I'll be the first to say, not everybody wants to be a homeowner. Not everybody should be a homeowner. But for those that would not qualify for a traditional mortgage in a traditional way, due to whatever circumstances, not having 20% down, we require $600 of our families for a down payment. For those people, we are a viable option.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thank you for clarifying that. And I think that is probably why I am familiar with folks maybe coming from Oxford House into some home ownership opportunities, which is really fantastic. And you did mention that a lot of, or a portion of your families were coming in from residences that were maybe travel trailers on private property, and in some circumstances that also qualifies as homelessness.
Correct. So a couple of qualifiers are being house burdened. 1 in 7 Washingtonians pay more than 50% of their income on housing. That leaves really hard decisions for transportation, medication, medical care, food. I mean, the basic needs if you're paying 50%. They also, you can be house, so burdened, you can be sharing a house, doubling up 2 families. My daughter and grandson lived with me for 1.5 years. No, she didn't qualify. She didn't apply for a Habitat house, but families doubling up under one roof is a qualifying factor. And then also living in substandard housing, mold infestation, anything like that. So those are 3 of the qualifying factors for need.
Thank you. Mark.
Thank you for presenting. And actually, thank you, Councilmember Miller. You asked a couple of questions that I had. I do want to say that I am a Habitat board member and in a non-advisory, non-voting role. I have a couple of questions for you. I'll take it one at a time, or as much as the mayor will let me get away with. But if we have so many veterans, why is there such an issue with filling these last 2 homes?
I think that it's twofold. I think many of our veterans have come out of the armed forces and accessed all of the programs that are to their availability, and they are set and have homes and are settled right now. I think also there is a large portion that we know through Sarge's Place that live on the West End that choose to not want to be in housing. And we are looking for a really sweet spot slice of veterans. And even though we have the highest population, it has been a challenge finding those people that want to apply and go into homeownership that are not currently homeowners.
Coming from a veteran family, I appreciate the fact that you're still leaving this open to veterans. Thank you.
We will get it done.
Do you have more questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. Just by your estimation, how many sold homes have Habitat Clallam put family partners in, and how many foreclosures are you aware of?
Zero.
0 on the foreclosures.
0 on foreclosures. We have not foreclosed.
That seems significant.
Yes, out of the 42 homes that we have done, there have been 0 foreclosures. We work, while we are not landlords, and many neighbors will call and say their yard's a mess, it's a Habitat house, can you make them clean it up? No, we can't. They are homeowners. You have to go the same route as anyone else. But the reality is we work with families, some that have gotten behind, will extend their mortgage, will, redo it so they have the payments at the end. And we want them to stay in their homes, and they want to stay in their homes. And we all have circumstances. We went through that a little bit with COVID, but we have never foreclosed on a family here in Clallam County.
Thank you. Last question. I know a little something about having multiple families in a home. Recently, my son just got out of the military. He lived with me for a little over a year. Happily, he has moved on. I'm sure happily for him as well. Can you describe some of the, you touched on this a little bit, but maybe can you describe a particular application that came across your desk where there was a qualifying family and they were trying to get out of a really bad situation, really bad living situation? Can you just elaborate a little bit more on some of the struggles that our families are coming out of?
I would say yes, some landlords do not take care of their properties, and as long as they're collecting the rent, they don't really have much of an incentive to fix places up. So we've had mold infestation that people have lived in, rat infestation that people have lived in, houses that are falling apart from termites. We had one family, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. The mom and dad lived there. The wife's parents lived there. The dad was disabled in a wheelchair, and the husband and wife and 3 children, while she was pregnant, lived in 1 bedroom in that house until their Habitat home was done. And so it was a game changer for both of those families in a good way.
Thank you. Latricia, go ahead.
Can you give an kind of your estimation on the age group demographics? I mean, you talked about for one home, there's 25 applications. So of those that are applying, what is kind of the age demographics? Are you seeing more younger families, people that have shifted from having families to just 2 individuals, and maybe they fell on hard times, or like like me, I'm going to say older, 55, So what's the age demographic?
Really, it's all across the board. Our youngest homeowner in Maloney Heights, single mom with a little boy, 23 years old. Right now, our veteran families are on the other end of the spectrum. A lot of single parent households, either a single dad or a single mom, that are, looking for a way to help their child and their future and secure some equity and, generational wealth for their families. So it's really across the board. Also to take in consideration, right now, these veterans cottages are under 1,000 square feet, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, not super big places, but we also build 3-bedroom homes. And the next home we're building is 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. We're not going to put a single family in a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath home. So also the house size can dictate.
All right. So kind of another question, kind of what do you see long-term, 20 years for Habitat for Humanity, specifically Port Angeles area?
Sure. We are ever changing and ever evolving. As I mentioned, we have become developers. We have 2 45 home communities coming online, 1 in Carlsberg, 1 in Sequim. I spend most of my time between excitement and terrified because they're big projects. Here in Port Angeles, I would like us to continue with the blighted properties, applying to buy those, bidding on those, and cleaning up the properties and putting single family homes in here. That would be my desire. There isn't a lot of big land here, as we have found in the county and Sequim, to do a whole community.
So are you also, sorry, just kind of to tag on to that, do you find that our off-the-shelf already designs help, or do you guys already have your own designs that you guys utilize across?
So Habitat International has standards that we have to follow. That adds into part of our house development and house design. The lot size also dictates a lot of the house design and what it's going to ultimately be or how big it's going to be. We have not used any of those off-the-shelf products at this time.
Okay, one more to tag on to that. So, so you guys have your single-family homes. Are there, in the future, do you see opportunities to try to utilize maximum development on these lots where you can have up to 4 on certain?
Exactly
lots?
what we did with the Veterans Bill. That was a double lot and it had one single family home on it. And we wanted to do as much density as we could. So we plowed through with a 4-plex and we all learned together.
Yeah, Habitat for Humanity is a great organization, and former President Jimmy Carter was our
most popular volunteer.
Yes, he was, and I wished I could volunteer, but unfortunately, health issues don't allow me to get out there. So, but
no worries.
I respect
Thank you
what
for your
guys
support
do
and the work
heavily.
you're doing here at the council. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I have 2 questions, so I'm learning a lot today. So Habitat, you've mortgaged and you finance the mortgages yourself. You don't work through a lender or a third party.
That was the original model to Habitat. When Millard and Linda Fuller started 50 years ago, they would raise money for a house. They would build the house. They would give a 0-interest 30-year mortgage. That's when you could build a house for $30,000. You can't build a house for $30,000. So a game changer for us was the USDA 502 home loan program, where we would get the money at the closing. Our partner family would get a mortgage, an affordable mortgage that was not more than 30% of the income for their principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and a reduced interest rate between 1% and 2%. And that would give us the money at that closing to roll into the next house. So we were no longer in a situation where we were providing our own mortgages, waiting for 30 years to be paid back, and fundraising for every house. So we went from 1 house every 12 to 18 months to 7 houses in 3 years. So that program was a game changer for us.
Fantastic. And then my other question was, I know affordable housing for our working families and veterans is seen as important. Specifically with veterans, do you guys work with, is there opportunities to work with the VA through their loans to help those families get more affordable housing and better interest rates through your program?
100%. So we have moved to third-party mortgages. We have worked with Banner Bank. We've worked with HomeSite, USDA, as I mentioned, and First Federal has come forth with a Habitat-specific mortgage to work with Habitat affiliates where they have branches here in Washington State. So we have options now, and our families have options, which is really, really helpful.
Fantastic. And this point of personal privilege here. When I was Key Club advisor, we went up and we worked on some of those properties to help you guys out. So I really appreciate the opportunity for the community to get involved. I think this is a community thing that the more people can get the help, the better. So thank you for your program and your organization and what you guys do for our community in our area.
Thank you.
All right, I just have a question and a thank you. Thank you. I will join the chorus of council members saying thank you for the work you're doing in our community. I helped on a Habitat build when I was in high school, so I've came into this role knowing something about Habitat. But one question I realize I don't know the answer to, if you live in a Habitat home and you sell your home, do you get right of first refusal for purchase back?
Yes, there's deed restrictions. That's one of the deed restrictions. The other one is there's a shared appreciation schedule. So they have to be in the home 20 years before they're fully vested to recoup all of the appreciation that's in the home.
Okay.
And that
Helps keep it
affordable.
affordable.
It helps keep it affordable, but also, helps the families stay. But by and large, our families, they've built the house, they've painted the house, they've raised their kids. They want to stay. They don't necessarily want to leave is
That
what we
makes sense.
find out. Yeah.
Right. And
It's about time for you to get back on a build site.
probably. I'll wait till the weather improves a little, then I'll be out there.
Madam Mayor, may I ask one quick question,
Yeah.
please? My name's Scott Curtin. I'm the Director of Public Works and Utilities for the city. I just simply wanted to ask, what would you say are your challenges, your largest challenges here locally to your mission?
You mean here in Port Angeles?
Clallam County.
Oh, in Clallam County? Well, there's another jurisdiction close by that's very, very challenging. Not the jurisdiction that I'm in right now. They're a culture of no, and so that has been a struggle. So that's a big challenge. But other than that, people are pretty supportive of Habitat, and I really think that City of Port Angeles has been very thoughtful and very deliberate in the way that they have moved forward with trying to make it easier for affordable home builders and also easier for my other nonprofit colleagues in the housing spectrum, and we appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, last questions from council. All right, well, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate the update and learning a little bit more as we start down this path of learning more about all sorts of different organizations in our community. So thank you for being here. All right, we will move on to Captain Crystal from Salvation Army. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Well, thank you for having me this evening. It's a good opportunity to just share kind of as a whole what the Salvation Army is, and then really focus in on Clallam County. If you don't know me, I'm Captain Crystal. I'm hidden a lot because I'm doing a lot of background work, but I do love what we do in this community. So just as a FYI, before I came into Port Angeles, this is my 13th year as an officer in the Salvation Army. And before I came here, I did 5 years in San Diego at our transitional facility called Door of Hope, which was for unhoused. It started as unhoused women and children. It moved into families, and I was the chaplain there. Loved it. And I would go back any day. I also, sorry, but also I'm right here right now. But also, I was also very involved with the church down there in downtown, right, where we would call, it would be like the Skid Row of LA, but it's in San Diego, right? So I've been able to work a lot with our unhoused friends. That's what I call them. So I needed that to come here to work with the individuals that I work with here. Just so you see a bigger picture of the Salvation Army. First of all, first and foremost, if you don't know, we are a church first. So you do have a church here. So we are a church first, and part of our mission statement states, its ministry is motivated by the love of God. Its mission is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to meet human needs in his name without discrimination. And that is something that we do constantly. And sometimes that just means loving the unlovable, which is what we do a lot here. We love the unlovable. Sometimes no words are even necessary to share that love with others. Some of the services around the world that you may not know about. We have orphanages and hospitals and fair trade workforces in other countries where we actually pay women and children appropriately to do projects. So that's one of the things that many people don't know about us. We are in over 130 countries, so we are everywhere. In the U.S., particularly here in the United States, we have shelters and emergency disaster personnel. We have thrift stores. A lot of people know us by their thrift stores, right? Not here in Port Angeles, okay? Habitat for Humanity, go there. Thrift stores, we have culinary arts programs for those who need a second chance. Often these are coming from our rehab centers or unhoused friends. Summer camp, children's character building programs, financial assistance, transportation assistance, food pantries, croc centers, which is like a big fun place to go. I'll say that. Meal programs, seasonal assistance, adult rehabilitation programs, which I love. And it's a 6-month in-house program. Our closest program is actually in Seattle. And the success rate for that rehab program is very good as long as they stay connected There's about an 80 or 90% chance that they will not go back to addiction. Here in Port Angeles, this is what you have been waiting to hear. We are very well known, as you all know, we are very well known for the meal program that we provide. Monday through Friday, breakfast from 8 to 9 in the morning, lunch from 12 to 1. And really, anyone is welcome to come into our meal program. It's not just for our unhoused friends, it's for everyone. If you just need a meal for the day, it's open for anybody to come in there. But yes, I will say that we mostly serve our unhoused community. They know us well, and we know them pretty well. And then something else that we do is any donated clothes or shoes that do come to us, they're placed in a designated area where anyone who's coming in for a meal, doesn't matter who you are, they can just take what they need. They don't need to pay, they don't need nothing, they just grab and go. When blankets are donated, we also put those in a designated area, and when our friends are asking for blankets, we just give them over. So if you ever have blankets that you need to get rid of, bring them down. We will give them out. You might see it somewhere on the street. Just be prepared for that. During breakfast time, we also partner with a lot of our other resources that I heard are coming in here eventually. PBH and Reflections. We open up our showers in the morning during breakfast time. So our unhoused friends can come in and take a shower. We could do up to about 9 or 10 a day, depending. Sometimes we get none, and sometimes we will get 9 or 10. So we do open that up for our friends. And then on Tuesday and Thursdays, we have Hope Market, which is, again, food insecurity. Hope Market is our food pantry. And it is open from 2 to 3:30 in the afternoon. And Hope Market is definitely client choice. And we've got a big area back there. So I will say that probably most of our friends that come, most of the people that come in are unhoused friends. And when they come in, they can come in once a week and get a little snack bag from us. Occasionally I let a little bit more go. Sometimes they come, but Captain, I need okay. So as long as we have it, we will give it out. But that happens about once a week. They can come in and get their little bag of snacks. And then during the summer, this is something you may not know, during the summertime, I actually personally take kids to camp. That's 3 hours away in Puyallup area. As many as I can really comfortably fit in my little tiny van, right? There's usually 3 camps. Each camp is about a week long, and they have all the camping activities, the swimming and hiking and all the things. We have a huge property over outside of Puyallup where the kids go, and I generally bring probably about a total of 10 to 15 kids every summer. It's 3 hours out, 3 hours back in one day, and then go back 4 days later and do it again. But I love it. It's fun to get to know the kids, and most of these kids are kids who are, not well off. And so they get a place to go, and I charge very, very cheap. I wouldn't tell that to everybody, but I do only charge about $25 because we have other people who donate funds for our children to go to camp. So that's a big thing. I was a camp worker growing up, so loved it. And then we have seasonal assistance. We have a special Thanksgiving and Christmas meals. If you've never been a part of it, it's kind of a fun thing. It's always the day before Thanksgiving or the day before Christmas. As long as it's not on a weekend, then we just adjust the schedule. Instead of our unhoused friends or friends that just come in going up to the window, if you've ever served with us, you'll know what I'm talking about. Instead of them going up there, I have them sit down, we do a little devotion, and then we serve them. And it gives them a little bit of dignity and a little respect. And a lot of them say, I feel special today, which is exactly what we are trying to get across to them. Because guess what? They are people too. This past year, for Thanksgiving and Christmas, we probably served a record total for me while I've been here. We served about 120 meals for each Thanksgiving and Christmas, so it was quite a bit. And that's kind of a mix of a lot of people. But our dining room was completely full. Occasionally, if we have it, sometimes we give them little gifts. This year, all the dogs got little gifts from my dog. So they had little snacks and stuff in there. So we do let that happen. And then during Christmas, our Angel Tree program, if you haven't heard, assists families experiencing hardship to receive Christmas gifts. Here in Clallam County, I do 13 and under, because once you get past 13, it gets a little bit more difficult for our donors to go out there and take the tree and buy a gift for the kid. So I keep it to 13 under, but I know that there are other people in the area who do the teenagers as well. So we get them all signed up for Christmas. We've also been gifting them for the last couple of years. We've been gifting them $25 gift cards for each family. And I know that that's not a lot of money. I know that's not a lot grocery-wise. That's what we can afford. So we give out $25 gift cards. Families will receive multiple gift cards. This is for the grocery stores, right? They'll receive multiple gift cards depending on the family size. They have a bigger family, they get more cards because there's a lot of people to feed. This year, we assisted 146 families, equaling 344 children, 13 and under. They're all 344 children, 13 and under, and nearly 200 gift cards we gave out. We distribute out of Port Angeles, and we also we distribute out of our Forks location. We work with First Step out there, and we distribute out there. We actually put everything in that big truck we have, and we drive down there, and we distribute out there in Forks. So some of the stats that you may be wondering about, our meal program, we recorded 1,100 meals served. That's what we recorded. But to be very honest, we serve approximately about 60 meals a day, which is about, if you do the math, it's about 300 meals a week. So, and of course, a lot of it is the same people that come and go, but serving that many meals is quite the feat. And it really also fluctuates depending on the time of the month. If it's earlier in the month, we don't have as many, obviously. And then our food pantry, approximately 2,000 units. The majority being our no-cook bags for our unhoused friends. Showers, we've done about 468 showers. So people are getting clean, which is good. And if you were down there to see somebody go into the shower and come back out, it's a whole different world. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. You know, they feel clean and they're ready to go out for the day. It's a beautiful sight to see. So I brought with me also some unhoused wisdom is what I want to call it. Some of these folks, they choose this life. They prefer to be out there. Some of them have come across different circumstances, addictions and things like that. But some of them just like being out there. And one thing that I love to get across to people is that they are people. They are people just like you and just like I. And so one of the most important things that I've learned in my 8 years of working with our unhoused friends is building that relationship. And I know it's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. But when you build that relationship with them, they tend to respect you differently. They respect you, you respect them. When I ask them to leave my property, most of the time they leave my property. Sometimes I gotta call the police department, but most of the time they leave the area just because they respect me for who I am. And the other thing about this relationship status is that they all have a story. You know, I sat down with one lady and she said, "Oh," I said, "What did you used to do?" And she's like, "Well, I used to be a nurse." You know, so they have stories, they have lives. And when they start telling you the story, the beauty of it is seeing the light in their eyes come alive. It's beautiful. Sometimes they could be really, really strong in their addiction, and it's a little bit crazy down there. But also, there's these times where they're just clear-minded, and you see it in their eyes, and it's just beautiful. You can have a real conversation with these folks. And so another thing that I like to say with all of this relationship status wisdom is just to love them anyway. And I know they get yelled at and they get moved along and people don't like it. I get a lot of phone calls down there at the Salvation Army. But really just love anyway, like no matter what. I've been known to go and give them a hug and people kind of look at me funny. But that's something they need. People don't touch them. And so sometimes they just need that. So I wanted to share a quick story of one of the folks that come. I'm going to leave his name out of it. But he would come. He came to the meal program probably for 5 years or so. And deep in drug addiction and just didn't know what to do with his life. And finally, he went to a rehab. I am not sure which rehab he went to, but he went to rehab. And he comes in the building one day and he says, I've been drug-free for so many days. And every single time he came in, he would say that. He still comes in today and he says, I've been drug-free for 6 months. And and you know what? I let him help in the kitchen too. He's just so excited about life right now that it is beautiful to see that. That is what we are here for. We are here to feed them with give their most basic needs met, and then they go out and enjoy their life. Sometimes they go to rehab, and here they do come back, and this is what they are. They help volunteer, whatever the case might be. He's super exciting, and he has no problem going around talking to everybody else about their addiction issues. So it's been a joy to see that just kind of unravel even in the last several months. So if you have any questions, this is a time. Be nice to me, please. I get very sensitive sometimes, and I'm very introverted, as you can tell. But please, if there's any questions, I would love to answer them to the best of my ability.
All right, we'll go to Amy and then Mark.
Thanks, Captain Crystal. I think you might have said it, but just for clarification, how many staff do you have?
I did not talk about my staff situation. I have one admin, I have a temporary cook right now, and I have a temporary janitor and myself. That's it.
So that puts those numbers into a different perspective, I think.
Yes.
I wonder if I know we don't generally like to generalize, but if you could speak on any trends that you might have been seeing since you got here, like who you might be seeing. Is it single folks, families, older folks, young, like any trends that you've noticed since you came to the community?
It's kind of all over the board. I would say we have our young folks and we have, I've been seeing some really young kids come in, like 18, 19, maybe 20. I also have seen a lot of our older people come in, whether they're the unhoused community or just across the street. So it's all over the board. Family-wise, we have a few families that come in. Probably, I know I could think of 2 fathers that come in with their daughters at this time. And recently a mother and her daughter have come in as well. So it's really all over the board. And it's, it's different. And it really, like I said, it depends on the time of the month as well. So, but it really is just anyone and everyone. There's so many age groups and so many, it's hard to pinpoint.
Thank you. I know I have had some meals there myself, especially when I was out and about. So my question, I guess, is just, are you looking for volunteers or employees? And if you are, perhaps this is a good venue to
Yeah, so we are still looking for a full-time cook. That's one of I mean, obviously, that's the big thing, is we're looking for a full-time cook. And as far as volunteers, it's hard because it's such a small space to work in. So if you do want to volunteer, just call and double check to see if we have a place for you at the moment. Because, you know, I know on certain days we need help more. Like on Monday afternoons, like we don't have anybody serving for lunch, you know, and you could go down the week. I could go down the week and let you know, hey, this is what we have available. But it is, I know you've been down there. I know you showed up when I wasn't even there. I don't know if I was on vacation or at a meeting, I don't know what. But I do appreciate when you do come out, and they actually appreciate seeing it as well, just to serve them, you know, a little spoon of, or a big spoon of potatoes or whatever. So I'm definitely looking for a full-time cook at this time.
What a cool way for us to see some more of our constituents.
I don't know if they want to eat my potatoes, but I'm happy to serve. I would be happy to serve it. Mark, go ahead.
You mentioned showers and sort of the look that people have when after they get out of the shower and they get all cleaned up. Is there any sort of laundry services or anything like that?
So we don't run the laundry right now. We really don't have the means or the people to do it right now. Occasionally, we will throw somebody's clothes in there if if it's a desperate situation, it's really soiled or whatever. But most of the time, we actually send them over to the coin laundry across the street on Thursdays because PBH does that for them. So that's kind of what we do. But I will tell you what they do like to do is go and look at the clothes if we have them, and they'll come out with their clean clothes on. So that's kind of a joy. And we do give out underwear and belts and socks, brand new, if they need it. So even having a clean pair of underwear is wonderful for them.
Thanks for your dedication and your caring and compassion and not giving up and not forgetting about people. Thank you. Is there anything that me as a council member can do to help you?
I just continue to check in on me. Continue to check in on me. It is frontline work and it is hard, and I am down there by myself most of the time. So, just check in. If I'm a little bit off kiltered, it's okay. Or just come down, and if you want to volunteer one time, let us know, and we'll set it up.
Latricia, go ahead.
Thanks for being here today. I kind of have different type of questions I'm going to ask. I've lived here all my life. I've seen the transitions, the changes of the Salvation Army over decades. I'd like to know how, because you guys have one of the largest footprints in the city of Port Angeles, in what is near resources for people who are unhoused. And I'd like to know how your buildings, because you've got the church and then you have the original building that they served lunches. I'd like to know how they're being utilized, if Salvation Army has a plan to expand the services and improve the facilities to be able to expand capacity and also to provide additional capacity for you to provide these services, because obviously they're needed. I mean, we have the pit count and just the numbers you talk about how many people that you're serving, and you're probably just hitting the tip of the iceberg. There's probably more than that. You talked about what the Salvation Army does worldwide. But I'm kind of, because I've seen how, and it's not all on you, it's not on your shoulders, the changes that I've seen from the last 5 decades at that facility. But I see that the resources for you, I mean, you've talked about having 3 staff And one's, you know, just a temporary cook and a janitor, an admin, and yourself. That's not a lot. So what is the plans for Salvation Army to really make that site functional and to be able to provide the services that are needed here? And how can the city help to get to make it a better operating facility? And I don't know, maybe I'm just projecting, and I'm sorry if I am, but I don't know how the buildings are currently being used. And I do know you guys have a large footprint here in the city of Port Angeles.
Yeah, so I actually have no problem answering this question. So one of the things that I'm doing in the background is that original building, the brown building, or the program building is what I call it. That building right there, when I first got here, it was nothing but stuff. Like I had a team come in and actually clean everything out. So that brown building right now is not even usable for the community right now. But I will say that in the background, I've been working on a lot of property things. I've never done property in my life, but I'm learning a lot about property. So what I would like to do with the brown building specifically, right now we do our distribution out of there. I don't understand why. It doesn't matter. But we do just distribution down there. We just
Food distribution?
Christmas distribution. So all of that becomes our place where we actually pack all those toys that you go out and buy. We pack them all in that building, and we line them all up in that building, and they come down around the back to pick up their stuff. So right now, that's what we're majority using that for. Also, if you don't know, that old chapel has no plumbing. So we use the upstairs for bathrooms on Sunday. Yes, I preach on Sunday as well. But the bigger picture that I'd like to see happen in the brown building, once it's more feasible to work with, right now downstairs there's no bathrooms and there's no kitchen. If you've been down there, you'll know what I'm talking about. But there's none of that is in there, so it all has to be remodeled somehow. But what I would like to see in the future is having like an after-school program down there in that area. That's what my vision is. But as officers come and go, they might see something different. That is what my vision is, because that is something that we do not have right down there necessarily. We don't have any, like they could go to the Y or think different places, but we don't have anything for the kids at all down there. And I will say that a lot of time the parent is going to be hesitant bringing their kid there, but how are they going to know until we start something? I would love to have character building programs start up. That's my passion. So that's kind of what I would like to move towards using the brown building. As some of you know, that I had a big hole in the wall when I first got here, and it is all fixed. So it is slowly getting worked on. The blue building, the chapel, we use that every Sunday. Every Sunday I'm in there preaching, and we do Sunday school out of there. So it is functionable. Not very pretty on the outside, beautiful on the inside. If you haven't been in there, come talk to me and I'll bring you through. So that's kind of what my bigger picture plan is.
But you have no plumbing in the buildings. You said.
I don't have any plumbing in the chapel because that building is, over 100 years old. So there's no plumbing in the chapel. The brown building has plumbing, but downstairs, there's no bathrooms down there. It got cleaned out. It got demolished, basically. The upstairs bathrooms are still functional, so there is plumbing upstairs.
So I'm just going to say out loud, I think that this is a great opportunity. You guys have a large footprint for the community and all of the aid organizations, the nonprofits, to come together and have a roundtable with Salvation as the lead to talk about. I mean, you talked about downstairs daycare, but we have a great Boys and Girls Club experience and stuff. And I'm just wondering if there's a better use for that. I know it belongs to Salvation Army, but if there's a better use and a more higher priority need for for citizens in the city of Port Angeles that are struggling, and if that might be an opportunity for the Salvation Army to lead a roundtable to talk about, well, we have this, what are the higher priority functions? I know you have your vision, but I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to bring everybody together to talk more about what can happen there. Because I mean, I drive by, and to me, one of the things that I see is one thing that we need is more overnight shelter opportunities. And, you know, people that are in house do sleep on the sidewalks because you have that overhang. It helps keep them dry. And you know, I wish that we had more shelter opportunities and stuff. So I guess I just want to put the idea of maybe plant it in your head. The other question I have is, what does most of your funding come from? Do you guys work off of grant funds, or is it just private donations that get funneled to the Salvation Army?
So it's both. We have government, we have TFAP and EFAP for both our food pantry and our meal program. Other than that, what comes in mostly is from donors. We have estates, we have foundations that, to be very honest with you, this little town of Port Angeles brings in quite a bit for the Salvation Army for what we do, and which I am thankful for. And I will say also that most of that goes to our meal program. And it's specified for meal program, or specified to take kids to camp. So it really comes from a lot of different places, but our only state funding is TFAP and EFAP, sorry. California, EFSP, EFAP. So TFAP and EFAP, that's where we get most of our food and money from. And then we have, like I said, donors that bring in quite a bit.
I'm sorry, just one more.
And really
quick
sorry,
question.
one more thing is the kettle program during the Christmas
That's what
time.
I was thinking.
Yes.
I know I always see that,
Yes.
and every year I'm like, all right, the kettles are out. We got to donate when we're going by. So,
And can I
it's
also
good
say,
to know that it stays here in Port Angeles.
it does. And that's what I was going to say, is that anything that goes into those red kettles, anything you donate online, or you send it to the P.O. box, even that says California on your little envelope, it actually comes right back here, and people are unaware of that. So yes, everything you donate comes right back into this community.
Thank you.
All right, anything else from council? Well, thank you very much for being here. I learned some things tonight, and appreciate the work that you and your very small staff are doing to serve folks in our community.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thanks for coming. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and hear from Joe for 4PA.
Yeah, I mean, canine, but doing a demo for the Cub Scouts. Yeah.
Mayor, just so you're aware, the timer was disabled so that they could test the presentation. And so
Okay, very good.
I think
We may be,
city clerk is going by the actual timer.
okay, very good. I was feeling a little panicky, but. All right. So we'll wait just another moment. She is on her way. And in case anyone else heard a dog barking during the presentation, it was a dog barking because our canine copper was doing a Cub Scout presentation. So we thought about adding him as a late item, but he might want to get on with his night. So we'll invite him another time.
We'll let them loose.
All right. Thank you all for your patience. And thank you, Joe, for being here. And
You're very
I'll
welcome.
turn it over to you.
Fantastic.
Update on 4PA.
Yeah. So thank you, council, for having me here today and staff who helped make this happen. And thanks, Colleen and Crystal, for the work you do in the community. It definitely does not go unnoticed. So I really appreciate that. 4PA does a few things in the community. We obviously do cleanup. We're working on our Touchstone campus for housing solutions. I'm actually not going to focus on the Touchstone campus, although I'd be happy to entertain questions on that. I really, from my understanding, what I'm here for today is to kind of help give you some insight as you consider future policy decisions surrounding homelessness, maybe public camping, things of those natures. And, 4PA regularly engages with the homeless population. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share what we see literally every day on the ground. I'm also happy to clarify what 4PA does, how we operate, the role we play kind of in this larger conversation, because we approach this issue from actually multiple angles. We do the cleanup, we do outreach in a sense, and also the housing. And I've included a handout, I hope council got it, to kind of give you an idea of our cleanup protocol. And this is directly taken from our website to kind of help alleviate any confusions there may be about our methods and our protocols. Okay, so I really think it's necessary to simplify the conversation and really to look at what we're talking about, because not every single person that lives outside is the same. I think sometimes we get in the habit of kind of thinking of it that way, but they're really not. There are individuals that are extremely self-aware. They're doing their best not to disrupt the community. They take only what they need. They keep their areas relatively clean and tidy, and really they're not causing any harm for all intents and purposes. And I think it's really safe to say that most community members don't take issue with these individuals. In fact, many residents I know do kind of their own outreach, and they try to help those folks as much as humanly possible. And I'm really a firm believer in second chances. I think that a lot of people need an opportunity to stabilize. And with that being said, this conversation really isn't about, in my opinion, determining if somebody is worthy or not for help. I think everybody's worthy for help. That's really not kind of what I'm here to decide today. It's about acknowledging that there are very different behaviors happening within the broader population of people experiencing homelessness. The two pictures that I have up on the screen are prime examples. I think it's pretty easy to see that there's a vast difference between the camp on the left and the camp on the right. And this is indicative of extremely different behaviors amongst people out on the street. The real strain on our community comes from a population of people engaged in highly destructive behavior. This behavior is more often than not tied to heavy drug use and addiction cycles. These same individuals have been approached repeatedly by outreach teams, offered services that are actually available in Port Angeles, yet continue behaviors to create really significant damage to public spaces, businesses, and environmentally sensitive areas. I know you guys know this because you get the emails and probably a lot of these pictures. Sometimes mental illness actually compounds the behavior, and it leads to very erratic, unsafe situations. And how do I know this? Well, because these are the same people that my team engages and talks to on a daily basis. And I believe what the community is asking for is not cruelty towards these people. That's something that we've never even entered our minds, but clarity on the city's approach. They want to know that there's a strategy in place to address behavior that threatens public health, environmental integrity, and safety, especially near businesses in residential areas. And again, that picture that I showed you is a prime example of, somebody who kind of keeps their place clean, and then on the right, somebody who's really steeped in the addiction cycle. I do believe there's a little bit of a double standard in the community that I want to address, because much of the work that happens that we do is off the beaten path. We're in the creeks, we're in the watersheds, we're in protected green spaces continually. And these are areas actually that the city owns and, in my opinion, has an obligation to protect. Yet there's really no system in place to do so. Current city regulations don't allow citizens to cut trees, to dig into hillsides, to use creeks for waste disposal. Yet we routinely see these exact behaviors occurring in unmanaged encampments all the time. There should not be two different standards for how public land is treated. Protection of our natural areas must apply consistently across the board. And you can see some examples of what I'm talking about from down in Tumwater Creek. So I want to talk a little bit about the scale of cleanup that we do. Over the past 4.5 years, our team has removed more than 400,000 pounds of garbage from abandoned encampments. That number represents trash only. We do not take personal belongings. We do not dismantle active camps. Every cleanup is verified as abandoned before we touch anything. In Tumwater Creek alone, we average about 1,500 pounds of garbage removed every single week. 1,920 pounds today, actually. If we stop tomorrow, the accumulation would continue at this rate. I've got the numbers to show it. And these would be directly in sensitive watersheds. Our team works 6 days a week in Port Angeles on city-owned property. And even at that pace, unfortunately, we're barely keeping ahead. So what exactly is being left behind in these areas? The majority of abandoned camps are heavily contaminated. We've collected more than 31,000 meals in the last 4 years. Most sites include lots of drug paraphernalia that's clearly marked from our harm reduction center. There's a lot of human waste, rotting food, moldy clothing, lots of signs of rat infestation. And the current cycle is that camps really become so unsanitary that individuals simply move on and they leave all the bad things behind. This includes buckets used as toilets, soiled bedding, used hygiene products, and a whole lot more. Our team deals with the fallout of this, and we methodically pick through it with our grabbers piece by piece in order to protect ourselves from harm and needle pokes. It's happened to me twice, and I don't want any of my volunteers to have to go through that. Here is a little bit of a recent example. And again, I'm just trying to paint a vivid picture because I think that's why we're here, so you guys can really see what's going on the ground. I want you to ask tough questions. I want to be in the room answering tough questions because I think that's how we're going to move the needle forward. Several weeks before Christmas, this is the same picture kind of before and after. Several weeks before Christmas, a camp began forming at the top of the trail leading into Peabody Creek. It's an area that our team has worked frequently and the city has invested some time into. And the school kids are about to take their field trips down there starting next month. And ironically, this camp started just adjacent to the city-approved camping prohibited site you see in the background. Yet the camp expanded over several weeks. Neighbors reported it. Code enforcement was contacted and actually visited. And after another week of observation, just to see exactly what had happened and talking to our partners that we partner with, it was determined that the camp was finally abandoned. Now, here we are. This is just a few days after Christmas. And I'd given my team the week off because they worked hard, all year. But what do we do now? And, it's not in a city park. It's not in an area that's maintained typically by the city. And so if our team isn't working, there's really nobody else there to clean it. And it sits and it rots. And so I went and I did it by myself. Took me about 4 hours. And so the surrounding neighbors wouldn't have to live with it. And, I didn't do this because I don't want kudos. I'm not saying this because I want kudos for myself. I'm saying it because it had stretched on for weeks because there was no plan in place. And 4PA is really the only group restoring these particular areas. And this is the exact situation that we've encountered every single week since we began over 4 years ago. So what makes it worse is the delays. Another example is this hillside fort that you see here that I'm sure many of you are aware of. You probably received emails about it again. And from the first report back in September, it was roughly 4 months until a resolution actually took place. During that time, the individual, as you can see in the picture on the right, the individual carved into a sensitive protected hillside, cut down trees. And these are no other actions that no other resident would be allowed to do without permits or permission. And the point is that these lengthy timelines that we've allowed to take place, they compound the damage that our community is experiencing. They compound the damage that residents feel emotionally. And these dangerous situations that local residents are reporting should not linger on for months, in my personal opinion. So, unfortunately, I don't want to be all bad news. Like, honestly, I have some solutions to talk about in a minute. But unfortunately, from my perspective and my team's perspective, the trend is increasing. The most concerning part is that despite our work 6 days a week, the problem is not shrinking, like I said. Last quarter of 2025 was our largest tonnage quarter to date, removing over 40,000 pounds in just 3 months. Our goal, and listen, honestly, when I say this is honestly, our goal has always been to reduce this need over time. At 50 years old, I don't want to manage a growing cleanup operation, honestly. And so, but in order to do so, we absolutely, and I'm imploring you, we absolutely need the city's full engagement, including everybody here, and commitment to help accomplish this goal. If we implement a strategy, that will actually free up 4PA to dedicate more time and energy into our shelter and housing solutions, which I'm like the most excited about. I'm so excited about what's going on at the Touchstone campus. And so I've come today with a clear proposal that I'd like to briefly outline. Because I don't just want to describe problems. I want to come with solutions. And so I, and many of you have actually seen this document, have researched surrounding cities that have implemented clear encampment reporting and response protocols. And my proposal is to adopt something similar here in Port Angeles. And you should have that handout. It would include a straightforward reporting system where a pin is actually I need to move the slide, pin is actually dropped on a map, triggering a defined sequence of actions. A site visit would occur within 48 hours by a city-appointed official. Encampments would be ranked on a public health and safety scale to determine urgency, like maybe a 1 to 3 or a 1 to 5 scale. Outreach would be the next to respond, offering services and relocation options. And if a site ranks really high for public health or environmental risk, and individuals at the camp refuse services, a clearly defined enforcement step would follow, including timely trespass notices, coordinated cleanup, and restoration. And here it is. The key is clarity. No guesswork between the agencies that are doing the work on the ground. No confusion for the public. A written city-endorsed protocol presented transparently is what I think would be a game changer. So, with that being said, I actually have somebody in mind who would be perfect for the city-appointed official. He is an employee of mine, Dan, who lives at the Touchstone campus. He's a hardworking guy. I've asked his permission to share this. He's been trained. He has full knowledge of all the camps within our city, He's well respected amongst the homeless population and would be the perfect fit to tie this response team together. Find some money. This is what I'm saying to you guys. Find some money, pay him a living wage salary, which would allow him to move out of the Touchstone campus into his own place. And then we can bring someone else into the house that he's currently living in at the Touchstone campus. It would be super difficult for me to lose Dan. He's like my go-to number 2 guy. But that's the pathway that our campus is all about. It's leveling up. You have the ability to step up as a council and a city staff and help make this happen. So I'm challenging you. Hire Dan. So the next thing is, you know, I know you're gathering this information and waiting to see what happens kind of at the state level, because there is some stuff going on at the state level. But I'm asking, regardless of what may be coming down the pipe, we need a local protocol in place. Doing nothing has really proven costly to our environment, our neighbors, and to the people caught in these destructive cycles. It's heartbreaking to go back week after week and see these folks doing the same thing in the same place. It's heartbreaking. So my team's going to continue to do the work, but a strategy must be in place, and I'm asking you to create one with a sense of urgency, actually. And in closing, I'd like to remind you that I provided those printouts for you guys to look over if you had questions, and that includes the cleanup protocol that 4PA uses. And I'm really grateful and that you're willing to take this step and have these conversations as a city council. It's kind of been a dream of mine. And I really hope that we can move towards a structured, transparent approach that protects our city and offers people on the street a viable path forward. So thank you, and I'd love to answer any questions.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
One really quick question I have is, do you have an extra copy of the handout, which I know is roughly tied to your presentation, but that can go to Carrie for the packet? Since you gave it to us, we need to put it in the packet for
I do. I can give this one to Carrie. I've got a...
Amy's going to give her.
Okay.
Hers, okay. I want to review mine, so I'm going to keep it. But all right, council, are there questions? John, go ahead.
Could you talk more about your relationship with OPCC and Rediscovery for us?
Yeah, so the question was if I could allude to the relationship I have with OPCC and Rediscovery. So they're our primary outreach partner. We've worked with many outreach partners over the years, but they've really stepped up. They understand our methods and our protocols. They've just really proven to be a good ally in that department. So we've actually signed kind of an exclusive MOU with OPCC to be our referral agent for those people coming into the Touchstone campus. Because everybody who's in place at the Touchstone campus, one of the requirements is that they have a caseworker assigned to them, and that caseworker comes from OPCC. They meet on a regular schedule. The representative from OPCC has our programming, and so that person helps walk our clients' residents through the programming that we've determined we want them to go through. Because the Touchstone campus is 18 months on site, up a 2-year point is kind of the graduation. So yeah, they're really great.
Thank you. Mark, go ahead.
We had a conversation a while back where I had asked you about some of the rumors that I had heard.
Yeah.
And I'd like your answer. I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit about some of the criticism that you've heard that was unwarranted and sort of your view of looking forward.
What was my answer?
I can give it to you if you want.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you know, I think there has been some rumors over the years. That's part of why I started off with giving you that handout with our clearly defined protocols. Because I think that, you know, I've always said that cleaning up and taking care of people they're not mutually exclusive. You can actually do both. And so I think that some people have the opinion that if we clean up, then obviously we're causing harm and we're taking people's things, because you can't do that and help somebody at the same time. And I don't think that's true. The other thing is like we've been so open from the beginning. All of our cleanups are open to any volunteers. We've utilized close to 500 volunteers in our 4 years throughout our time. Anybody can pop in at any time. We wear the brightest orange jackets and vests you can possibly think of, and we work in broad daylight, and our trucks say 4PA on them in huge letters. And so, I mean, if I was out committing crimes, doing things that were unwarranted or illegal, that would probably be the worst way to do it. And so I just really, nothing to hide. Anybody's welcome to come hang out with me, pick my brain, ask me hard questions. But yeah, and you can even ask my team, like, I'm kind of uber sensitive and diligent in the area of encampments. There's times where it'd be much more convenient for us just to do, clean an area. And if there's any inkling that I'm not 100% sure, we don't do it. And so I make sure that I contact our partner agencies. We work with code enforcement. Honestly, most of the intel we get is from the other people on the street. We oftentimes work directly with the folks after they've left an encampment. I've got their phone numbers. We text back and forth. They'll let me know when they're done with the location, and then we can come in and finish up the spot. So, I mean, these are things that you need to hear that we're doing on a very, very regular basis.
I've had the privilege of interacting with some of your volunteers, some that are here in the gallery today, and you've got a compassionate group, and it's one that I've appreciated interacting with in my neighborhood. Why do you do this?
I grew up here. I absolutely love this community. I've seen a lot of changes over the years. And some of the, I think one day when I was running on the waterfront trail and I literally had to step over an individual, that was kind of the key moment for me, saying like, something's wrong here. And that kind of led me on my journey to find out what was happening. And again, I think you can take care of people and we can take care of a community and keep it clean for, the rest of us to use at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. And I think, like I said, growing up here, going to Lake Crescent, going to these areas, I hear the stories of people who, I used to go there, but I don't go in there anymore. I used to run the waterfront trail, but I don't run the waterfront trail anymore. And like that literally breaks my heart. Like the worst thing, I don't like talking to the young kids who can't wait to get out of Port Angeles because of, certain reasons, including what they see on the street. And I just think that we're a small enough community with enough resources, enough brains, that we can actually figure this thing out. And so I'm determined to do it. That's plain and simple.
Patricia?
I'm just thinking in my brain, you talked about items that you find at the abandoned camps.
Yeah.
And you say the majority is food, clothing, because the camps become uninhabitable.
Yeah.
I know in the past, we've talked about, how do we prevent that from happening? And we've talked at length about, well, maybe we can provide big trash receptacles so, it's not being left behind, porta potties. We talked about ideas. But, I mean, what are, other than you're like putting it on a dot, how do we help the folks that are unhoused create a type of environment that doesn't bring all of that to a camp that they're relying on until they either transition or they've decided that they want help? Because again, you say everybody is different, different behaviors, and some people are there, as has been stated earlier. Some people are in the situation because they want to be outside. That's where they want to be, and we can't force individuals into getting help. But can we, as a better working with organizations, to say, well, instead of providing them with 20 different shirts throughout the week, provide more laundry facilities? Would they utilize that and and you know, and
Yeah.
you know, like you minimize
Yep.
instead of maximize. And so I'm
Yep.
wondering if that's something that we need to talk about is how do we help them to be able to live the life that they're choosing to live, but in a way that is a minimalization. I mean, but I know that there's challenges with that and it's not perfect, but I am like, how do we reduce that, the clothing and stuff? And I think it's great that donations are available and stuff for folks. And I think that's important, but how do we also help them? I don't know. I'm just talking.
No, I
don't have an
it's a
answer.
valid-
And I think hopefully maybe when we talk about this down the road, we could talk about it more. But I mean, I don't want to criminalize anybody. And there are things that are happening at the state level.
Right.
Our staff are overworked. We have limited resources. Being homeless is not a crime. So if it
Correct.
goes over to the county prosecutor, asking them to prosecute, they're going to turn it away because it's not a crime to be homeless.
Correct.
So there's challenges across the board. And we just need to, as you've reminded us in the past, it's about humanity and being kind and open arms to folks, both you and Crystal, reminding us that. And how do we do that? But how do we also minimize that impact? But thank you for what you do. I know that the city does waive landfill charges for you guys. And hopefully maybe there's ways that we can have I'm suggesting maybe a dumpster at your site up there at the Touchstone, to where people who are homeless can just walk in. Because right now people lock their dumpsters. I don't want people dumping.
I would actually not recommend that, nor would I want that.
No, see?
But if I may address maybe a few of your questions, you know, we do go into the camps on a regular basis. We probably visit every homeless camp that we're aware of at least once every 2 weeks, if not every week. And we do what I kind of consider maintenance, where we engage with the folks. We take full garbage bags, leave them fresh garbage bags. So we try to make sure that the area is maintained as much as humanly possible. It doesn't always work out. When you're steeped in an addiction cycle, the first priority is not putting the trash in the trash bag. But we try to do the very best that we can. I think minimizing things that are handed out is not a bad thing. I think that could be looked at. I think it would be well within different agencies' interest to kind of do an audit of how they do things and what could be reduced as far as potential waste. Those are all great things, in my opinion, that we could help support. But I think kind of how we steer people out of this cycle is, you know, I've said it from day one, is kind of healthy pressure. I don't think that allowing somebody to stay in their squalor for months on end is the solution. I think it's more of a nip it in the bud, where like if we can get a representative and outreach worker there quickly before it spirals out of control, and we can maybe help coach or steer or maneuver people towards resources, those sorts of things I think would be very, very, very beneficial. So again, it's kind of a timing thing, getting a system down. And it'll be tweaked over time. We're not going to hit it out of the ballpark on the first pass. You know, that's just the nature of how you do these things. You throw something against the wall and see what sticks. So I'm optimistic we can make it happen.
Anyone else? Amy, go ahead.
Thanks. I do want to just preface my comments with acknowledging that Joe and I have a history. And I participate on a campus committee for the Touchstone campus as well.
Yes.
I think we have the Golden Bucket volunteers.
We've got 3 golden volunteers in the audience.
We should introduce them a little later. We have worked together in the past. When I was working with Rediscovery, Joe and his team actually bought our van so that we could drive folks to treatment, and we sort of went different paths. And then, so I originally was one of those folks that didn't agree with starting with cleanup, had some misperceptions about that, and also the timing. There was some crews out there that were stealing in the name of cleaning up. And so there was some history there, but I've had to, Joe was really open in inviting, and I have obviously changed my mind.
Right.
And so I just want to say that out loud, so full transparency there. I also appreciated I forget what your slide said, but narrowing the conversation, because it is something that I really struggle doing in these big conversations about homelessness. But really, what I'm hoping our job here coming up is to talk more about not necessarily the housing issue, but really the drug use issue, which in these examples also seem to coincide with homelessness. And I don't think it matters the chicken or the egg on this one. And so it really is a small segment that is creating or involved in a lot of the expensive treatments and interactions and upkeep. And so I appreciate narrowing that conversation in a way that was so respectful on that. And I think until we as a society decide to legalize drug use, we do need to have enforcement, and we do need to have intervention. And those two things can work together, and they are not mutually exclusive. And in my experience, work best together. So I'm thankful for your time. The team is here. Thanks for being here. And also wanted to just mention that I think for our work session, we will also be able to hear more from our city teams on that as well. So
Yes.
Thanks for coming with solutions. I don't know if we can just hire Dan. Might have to apply for the position that isn't created yet, but
Exactly. You know where I was going.
yes, yeah, I appreciate you being more solution focused.
Amy, we literally just had training that we can't do personnel stuff. That was at 5 o'clock.
Good reminder. Thanks, Jeff.
I hope, you guys have known me to push
No, we haven't.
buttons here and there, so why not? Why quit with my streak right now? Yeah, and I do want to reiterate real quickly is that, I do acknowledge the city does, we overlap. I mean, I work with Parks Department. I mean, they do things. I'm just trying to point the picture that like we work in areas that this city typically doesn't work in.
All right, anyone else? Okay, thank you, Joe.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I learned some more tonight. I know I met with you, it's been a while now.
Yeah.
It could have been 2 years. I feel like it was maybe just last year, but time is a warp. So I appreciate the work that you and your team do, and look forward to our continued conversation, and appreciate the information that you shared tonight, and in the context of the bigger conversation that we're having with service providers. I think there may exist somewhere in the world already, but what I keep thinking is I've been in spaces before where we talk about creating a diagram of who's doing what and when, and I think about like, when are you serving food and when are other people serving food, and what are you doing and what's Habitat doing, and where are the gaps, and where are the pieces that make what you all do easier while also improving the lives of everyone in our community. And so I appreciate all that you guys are doing, and I look forward to the continued conversation about this. We have, as Nathan mentioned at the outset of this item on our agenda, we have other presentations coming up. So you all who have presented tonight are welcome to come. If you feel like you would learn something, you're always welcome. And particularly if you're interested in hearing from the other presenters, I think we are hoping to come away with a better picture of what that diagram looks like. And I'm not currently mapping it, but maybe I'll start doing that while we're, there are facilitators who have cool software that like start putting things up there. And I'm not suggesting I do that, but just comes to my mind. But anyway, I really appreciate the work that you and your team do, and appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
All right. So yes, we do have additional conversations at the next two meetings before our council discussion on the 7th of April. And I'm going to go now Calvin, do you want to introduce Director Watakani for us?
Mayor, council members, thank you very much. You'll find this information starting on page J1 of your packet. The city currently relies on outside fiber optic network connections for monitoring critical utility system at city plants, pump stations, and substations. The reliance on an outside network provider to manage these critical communications between geographically dispersed locations presents an opportunity for enhancement. Implementing a dark fiber network for critical city communications aligns with strategic focus area number 2, citywide resource optimization, by shifting the management of routing and switching of network nodes to the internal city network operations team. I'll now turn the presentation over to ITD Manager Eric Watercutty.
Mayor and Council, my name is Eric Watercutty, and I have the privilege of serving in the role of Information Technology Manager for the city. Tonight's presentation is on accepting the Astound Business Solutions Dark Fiber Service Order for leased dark fiber and the accompanying Master Services Agreement. The presentation is less than 7 minutes, so if possible, I'd ask that you please consider holding your questions till the end. The Astound Business Solutions Master Services Agreement, or MSA, governs both dark fiber services and lit services for business customers for the duration of the agreement, 5 years. The MSA contains articles specific to how the details within service orders relate to the MSA, the installation, testing, and acceptance of, and use of circuits, the portability of circuits, the framework for data management and security, service level agreements specific to leased dark fiber and lit fiber services. The MSA is still considered a draft because the city and Astound Business Solutions are very close to the final language for the MSA and work through layers of changes to arrive at this final draft. Before I begin, I'd like to share some important concepts and definitions that are critical to understanding the larger project. The first is dark fiber. Dark fiber is a direct, physical, point-to-point fiber optic connection that is not routed, switched, or shared with others. So it's like connecting two facilities directly together with a network cable to create a secure network between facilities. Lit fiber circuits are shared fiber optic connections routed and switched by a network provider. A good example of lit fiber service is like fiber internet for a home, right? The provider routes your connection up to the internet and you just plug it in and go, all right, internet. Supervisory control and data acquisition, or SCADA as we call it, the information technology, networking, and data that flows within an industrial control environment. Unique in its data and security needs, SCADA environments contain data and software that present specific security and operational challenges. In 2024, ITD staff began work on an intensive circuit-by-circuit audit of all networking circuits being utilized by the city. Throughout this process, city staff worked with Astound to disconnect circuits that were no longer needed, adjust billing and circuit speeds to ensure the city was only utilizing services it needed. ITD has worked very hard over the last 2 years to make sure that the city is getting the best deal, is positioned well for the future, and is being as efficient as possible in its use of network services. The result of this work has saved the city by reducing network services costs and brought in a new era of oversight for network services. In May of 2024, the city hired Foster Garvey to assist with the review of the legacy contracts and help prepare for any new contract work related to networking services. The partnership allowed the city to pair its technical staff with legal expertise to prioritize essential provisions the city needs in any new contracts for network services. The city is currently served by Astound Business Solutions through a grandfathered contract put in place when Wave Broadband purchased the local infrastructure. The legacy contract is approaching expiration and presents an opportunity for the city to address its network service needs to critical operational sites, including plants, pump stations, substations, by moving to leased dark fiber for all critical supervisory control and data acquisition, or SCADA, locations. There are two major areas of benefit from leased dark fiber. Number one, reliability, and number two, costs. By migrating to leased dark fiber, the city can operate and maintain network operations without relying on an outside entity to manage this critical network infrastructure. This strategic move allows the city to pay for only what it needs, access to the dedicated fiber, rather than full networking services. From a security standpoint, operating our own critical network communications for SCADA plants and utilities allows the city to achieve improved segmentation by removing the transmission of critical infrastructure network communications through an outside networking provider. To achieve this, the city has planned for equipment needs in the capital facilities plan in support of the dark fiber transition. Over a 5-year period, the transition is estimated to save the city approximately $190,000. Pending council's approval of the master services agreement and dark fiber service order, ITD staff will immediately begin a multi-phase plan to implement dark fiber circuits. Phase 1, a 4-week testing effort to finalize the small form factor pluggable network modules, is needed for the project. Phase 2 will be a 28-week build out with Astound Business Solutions to construct and test dark fiber circuits to City Hall. Much of the fiber is already in place, but gaps exist for each circuit, which is why construction and testing must be completed in Phase 2. Phase 3 will include the finalization of remaining lit services needed and the creation of a lit services order. The current contract ends September 1, 2026. Astound will phase in the new services and circuits as they are tested, slowly replacing the circuits currently covered by the legacy agreement. Funds are available in the council-approved 2026 network services budget and corresponding capital facilities plan for equipment needs purchased by the city in support of this project. Staff recommends City Council, 1, approve contracts with Astound Business Solutions for a master services agreement and a leased dark fiber services order, substantially in the same form and with the same general terms as the attached drafts, for a 5-year period in the amount not to exceed $771,840. 2, authorize the city manager or their designee to negotiate, accept, and approve modifications to the drafts. And 3, after the city manager or their designee has approved and accepted all contract documents, authorize the city manager or their designee to execute all contract documents, to administer the contracts, and make minor modifications. Thanks.
Oh, there's no so moved. I was hoping someone would jump right in.
So
I have questions. Can I second?
Yes.
Or somebody can second and we can ask some questions?
Yes, we always have questions
Okay,
before we vote.
thank you. Second.
Okay, Drew has a question. Were you done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Drew, go ahead.
I just want to make a quick disclosure that is tangentially related, but still technically related. Prior to Astound buying out Wave, back when it was still Wave Business Solutions, I have actually appeared in one of their commercials. It was compensated as well. It's like 8 years ago and paid through by the marketing department, so it wasn't even directly through them. But on the off chance that might actually mean something to someone somewhere, I have actually been paid to show up in a Wave business solution commercial.
All right, well, now we're going to have to look for that. So thank you for the
I
disclosure.
was trying to find the link. It's been buried somewhere. I'll hunt it down if anyone's curious.
We'll be sure to broadcast that at a future meeting. All right. Do you want to speak to your motion? I know I sort of just threw it out there, but he set it up so nicely.
He did. I was thinking, we need to just so motioned because it's such a long one. I did some digging into this myself, research it because there was a couple of sentences in there that I was just like, I don't know what they're trying to tell me. Very IT lingo language, and that was the reply when I Googled it. Oh, this is IT lingo, and this is what they're trying to tell you. So telling Eric, they summed it up at the very bottom that it's basically like having your internet operate on a private road in a gated community versus on the highway. And so that's what the dark fiber is you're running your network on a gated community on a private road. So it's more protected. It's not 100% fail safe, but it's more protected. And if one section is there's cyber controls or issues, it's being hacked, you can prevent that hack from going to your other facilities. So, but one of the things I was wondering, does this work just for our utilities with the SCADA controls, or does this work across the board, like here at the administration building, over there at the, if we do the senior center or wastewater, does it work for all of the facilities or just our utilities?
Great question. I love the analogy of the gated community, although I selected the direct facilities connection. The way this is geared is that this isn't going to affect every single site that the city operates. For example, the senior center is not a location where we would be putting a dark fiber circuit. But the data that it focuses on is more exclusively designed to optimize and secure the communications from critical plants, pump stations. So think of our electrical utility and all of its substations, the water utility, all of its pump stations and sites that make the water treatment center work, and then the wastewater facility. These are very complex systems. Each of them currently has a network connection that is not dark fiber.
So then, and one more question: do any other government organizations utilize the dark fiber, or are we the last to jump on board to do this? I don't know. I'm assuming, does Collin County Utilities, do they do something similar? Or is there any other organization that does this? I don't know.
So no, we're not I'm not crazy that this is like the first and original thing. I can't speak to Collin County specifically, but this is a very common topology if you have the ability to do it for both the security and operational benefits that I've outlined in the presentation.
Other questions? Mark, go ahead.
Councilmember Suggs, I appreciate that, because that was along the lines I was going in. And I was going to ask you, if this is essentially like a LAN, a local area network, except maybe a WAN, a wide area network that provides a lot more security and a lot more speed in use. But I think we've sort of got that answered. So thank you. And thank you, Councilmember Schwab, for the humble brag.
That's going to be fun. Okay, we'll go Amy, then John.
I just want to thank you, Eric, for the presentation, for coming to work at nighttime. And it seems like you might be sick. I mean, really, get this guy a raise. I appreciate it because, don't yell at me, Drew, I'm joking. Because IT for me is super confusing. So this was helpful. I think it sounds, having some dark fiber sounds super sexy. And I trust you. And it sounds like, it sounds like you mentioned doing a audit of every circuit. And that sounds like it sucked. But thank you. It sounds like your team did a really nice job of really trying to get in there and make this the best decision. So I will be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Amy. John, go ahead.
I just more of a comment. I appreciate your leadership on this. I think having infrastructure that's reliable and safe is important, and having toured with Scott those facilities, I know how complicated the circuitry is and how important it is that it runs reliably in emergencies. And if power goes out, like, we need those to still work, right? And I think invisible infrastructure in our town is something that we want to not have to address. So I like the forethought of this, and I also appreciate how switching will save us money in the long term. And so I wanted to thank you for your due diligence and your work on kind of guiding this whole process, because I think it's really important. So I most definitely will be supporting and voting yes on this when it's my turn. So thanks so much, Eric.
If I may just add one thing, I stand before you, but I represent a team of people that I have the honor to work with every day, and they put a lot of work into this. So it wasn't just me grinding through the circuits. It was the team of people I get to work with. And so I will pass your kudos on to them.
Amy, go ahead.
Sorry. Who is that guy?
Oh. Council members, Mayor, we've been really lucky to work with outside legal counsel on this very focused, nuanced negotiation. And so Bob Sturbank with Foster Garvey, our outside legal counsel, is with us tonight should there have been any legal questions. And we appreciate whether he says it, we really appreciate what he's here tonight, and was happy to answer any questions if legal issues came up from council. So thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to start by saying thank you for bringing this down to a level that was understandable. And I appreciated I understand what you said, but I also think the graphics are helpful for seeing what you're talking about and reinforcing what you're hearing. So thank you for doing that. And then my question, I'm glad to know that Bob is from the law firm and not from Astound. So my question is, will the dark fiber protect us some from Astound outages?
So the difference, well, not 100% is the straightforward answer. The shift from where we are now in terms of who we call for a typical type of outage shifts to a tree fell and broke fiber that Astound owns that we now lease, right? That is in Astound's hands. And if you took notice of the dumpster fire behind Olympic Tire, that actually melted quite a bit of fiber, and their team was on site, and actually as soon as those poles were cleared, they did a pretty quick job of splicing a lot of fiber to restore service. So in a physical break with dark fiber leased, it would be them that would help. Outside of that, it's us. So what we are not immune or not vulnerable to in a dark fiber arrangement is if someone at Astound makes a routing change or a switch goes out and they don't tell us, or they decide to do maintenance at a really odd time, Right now, we are vulnerable to that, and we do see downtime from those types of things. So it does put more ownership and operational control in our hands, and for the types of infrastructure we're dealing with, I think that's the ideal strategy.
Right. There wasn't a wrong answer there. It was just a curiosity. So I shouldn't have prefaced it the way I did. I feel like when people are consistently, it hasn't been as much lately, but like in social media, it's often like, is everyone else's sound down? And so it's nice to know, I think you explained and answered my question exactly well, for me to understand the yes and the no in that. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a really smart thing to move it forward. I think we've made a lot of progress in the security of our systems over the last few years, and this seems like a really logical next step to continue down that road in the gated path, in a gated community. For keeping that analogy going. It just seems like a really important next step, and I appreciate the work that you and your team put into this and the help from Foster Garvey in crafting this proposal. So are there any other questions from council? Okay. So we have a motion to approve contracts with Astound Business Solutions for a master services agreement and a leased dark fiber service order substantially in the same form and with the same general terms as the attached drafts for a 5-year period in an amount not to exceed $771,840, and authorize the city manager or their designee to negotiate, accept, and approve modifications to the drafts. And after the city manager or their designee has approved and accepted all contract documents, authorize the city manager or their designee to execute all contract documents, to administer the contracts, and make minor modifications. Anyone opposed to the motion, please state your opposition. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you, Bob, for being here. All right. That brings us to council reports. Latricia, you ready to go right to left tonight?
Yeah, just a quick one. I had a meeting about funding for Collin County Marine Resources Committee, potential additional pot of funding for one of our projects. There's some things coming up here down the road. One of those things, if people like to watch birds, Dungeness Nature Center is getting ready for, I believe it starts in April, their Bird Fest. So please go check that out. One of our projects that Collin County Marine Resources partners with is counting pigeon guillemots, but they're on Indian Island. So, but there's some upcoming events going on. Other than that, I've just been kind of going in and reading like on Collin County Transit prior packets. So I'm kind of informed. I want to say I'm really impressed with the monthly totals. I think the packet that I read, like the month of January, they had over 68,000 trips in Collin County bus service. So I was pretty impressed with, and it's very apparent that the need is definitely needed here in Collin County to get people around from point to point, and the changes in their shuttle or their bus routes. There was some minor changes to try to improve efficiency for the ridership. And I see bus stations where people are waiting for the bus seem to be they're utilized. So I'm really happy that people are able to get around. So other than that, I do want to Owa Column Tribe is kind of mourning the loss of a young person down there. He was great. He was very knowledgeable with cultural weaving, the language, and very loved by the community, and worked with Lower Owa Column Tribe. So I just want to give my hands up to this young kid that has passed too soon and is greatly going to be missed by the community. Maurice was a fabulous soul, very kind, gentle soul. So thank you.
Drew.
Yeah, so I'll start with the meetings I've attended since our last council meeting. February 5th, I attended the recompete meeting as our city representative. The focus was on strengthening coordination across the network, meeting the new grant coordinator, and clarifying roles. And as a reminder for both the public and newer council members, the city of Port Angeles does not actually receive any grants or administer any of those grants. Clallam County takes the lead on that. Also, February 5th, I attended the Olympic Peninsula Tourism Commission's meeting. We received updates from our different public land partners. The Olympic National Forest is actually offering free personal use firewood permits through June 30th as part of a pilot program. Olympic National Marine Sanctuary is preparing for their April 8th groundbreaking for the new Marine Discovery Center. I'm pretty sure, well, I mean, the community is invited, but I'm pretty sure all of the council members have been invited as well. Olympic National Park has awarded its concessions contract to Explorer USA. We are expecting more clarity on the summer road work that's predominantly out on the west end once the contracts are finalized. Unfortunately, it's a chicken and egg circumstance where we can't get more information until they actually do the contracts. And then WashDOT also shared that the fish barrier work at the Lees and Ennis Creeks will resume soon, with lane shiftings are going to continue throughout the year. February 10th, I attended the Elevate PA meeting as a business owner. We were able to discuss downtown issues in the Neighborhood Watch Facebook group, which has been doing well. We also discussed the upcoming fire and life safety inspection code. I'm going to say updates. Actually, it's there's no new requirements. It was to clarify the processes that are already required. It was a very good presentation from our city staff. February 11th, I attended the chamber lunch as a business owner. OMC's interim CEO provided an update on the financial stabilization, quality tracking, and their operational assessment with UW Medicine. I believe there's both some recordings available of that online for those that would like to see. But right now, their main focus is preserving local access to care while strengthening the financial health. And then later that day, I also attended Serenity House's open house to be able to hear about their work in the shelter, housing, and youth services. Looking ahead, tomorrow I have a scheduled meeting with our, my notes just slid forward. Looking ahead tomorrow, I have a scheduled meeting with our Clallam County prosecutor based off some of my recent public commentary regarding criminal justice system and specifically the prosecution function in particular. He thankfully reached out to me so we could sit down and discuss those in greater details, and I appreciate his willingness to do that. This Thursday is the Welcome Back Coho event at noon. It's a celebration of the connection between our communities and the boat that links us. I'm also attending the leadership lunch that's afterwards. On the 19th and 20th, council members Carr, Miller, and myself will serve on the ad hoc appointments committee, which is responsible for reviewing applications and recommendations for the city's various permanent boards. On the 25th, I'm attending the Waterfront District's Economic Vitality Committee. As a business owner, North Olympic Discovery Council meets on the 26th, which is a council assignment for me. The Clallam EDC Gala at Field Hall is March 6th. There's a lot of stuff crammed in a 2-week period. And then finally, I'll be out of town from February 28th through March 6th. My store is actually a top 5 finalist for the nation for an award through the Game Manufacturers Association Trade Group, and I will be attending their expo in Louisville. I do expect to participate remotely for the March 4th meeting. It looks like in our notes it's already been done, but I was also going to ask to postpone the official council group photo, and I apologize for the lateness of me telling you guys that. They emailed me on Friday and told me to show up to Kentucky. That is all I have.
All right, thank you. Mark.
I had the opportunity to do a ride-along with Parks Department, which isn't your traditional ride-along, but Caretaker 1 Jessica Adams was kind enough to let me tag along with her for a morning while she emptied out all the city garbage cans, or most of them, and cleaned up all of the restrooms that we are public facility restrooms. And I was struck by what is probably a thankless job, and somebody who was so happy to do their work. I don't imagine she enjoys picking up garbage, but she really enjoyed making things better for everybody. And I asked her, I said, well, why do you do this every day? This has got a grind on you. Why do you do this? And there's a common theme, kind of like our presenters tonight. And it was care, compassion, and joy, pride in the city. And she said, I'm just cleaning a restroom. but when I clean this restroom, I try and make it as clean as I would for one of my relatives to bring their children into. And like, that's the people that we have working for this city. And I'm just really thankful for the opportunity to have met Jessica, had the opportunity to ride along with her. And these are the people that, you know, they're really representing our city so well. So I'd like to give her a special thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Amy.
Thanks. Sorry, I knew my turn was coming and I transfixed. So tomorrow will be my first transit board meeting as well. Getting ready for that. I unfortunately will have invited. I have requested Mayor Dexter to attend in my stead for the fire EMS authority meeting because it coincides with my class, which will be over soon. Last week we had, last week we had a utility advisory committee meeting, which was actually really interesting. Not that all of them aren't terribly interesting, but it was something that we had a presentation on basically our failing infrastructure, and it was really. I think it was not a presentation that I hadn't already seen because it said there was indications and notes to like having like 98% of our pipes are like 100 years old or more. And so it was a good meeting, a good conversation. What I'm really taking away from it is that we are our current approach to this is over a 20-year period where we're going to, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, please, Director Curran, where we are going to be a little bit more reactive to issues rather than being proactive. And that really puts us at a high degree of risk in the community because it would leave us open to breaks and things that happen in pipes that I don't know about, but are costly. And so it was really interesting to talk about that. I think as we are gearing up to talk more about strategic planning, I think it was really a timely presentation to remind us of all of those needs that are underground and our approach to them, and maybe a need to revisit how we are going to go about that. Did I get anything terribly wrong?
You did well. No, that was very good. As far as the percentages, we were primarily talking about the sanitary sewer at that time, and we had presented a graph that showed the various ages that we have. In roughly 40% of the city's 120 miles of sanitary sewer pipe predates 1956. So to put that in perspective, think about the things in your life that are beyond 70 years old that are used every single day, 7 days a week by the citizens of the city. So 40% of 120 miles used every single day. So, but thank you. I really appreciate you bringing that up.
Thanks for correcting me. I think I just said 98%. So 98, 40. Still, it was a lot in the grand scheme of things. So I appreciated that. I'm not sure if we're going to have an opportunity to see that presentation before our strategic planning conversation. So I would recommend either taking my word for it or watching the meeting over again just to get an update in your brain on those issues. And I think that's all I've got.
All right, John.
Thank you, Mayor. Being at the end of the table, I get to say a lot of things that have already been said. All right, so I want to start by first thanking Colleen and Captain Crystal and Joe for coming out tonight. I think it's important to hear about those organizations, what they're doing, and how we as a city can partner with them to kind of tackle this societal problem. And I really appreciate your candor and your openness about that. So since our last meeting, I attended the Utility Advisory Committee meeting. I wanted to thank Matthias. Was his last meeting, and so as our chair of the committee, so I want to thank him for his professionalism and he did a good job during the meeting. I know I was only on the committee. I haven't been on it that long, but I really want to thank him and put on the record how much his volunteer service for that period of time is deeply appreciated. So I want to thank him. So at the meeting on the 10th, I'm going to kind of repeat what Councilmember Miller said. Staff provided a detailed briefing on this neighborhood sewer rehabilitation program. It presented for me highlights of a significant infrastructure challenges, which a lot of our city has, our schools, our port. Much of our sewer system is aging, and the cost of emergency repairs following a failure, I learned, was substantially higher than proactively fixing it and rehabbing it. The staff noted at our current pace that the system will not reach fully proactive maintenance until about 2040, and I probably won't be on this council by then, so it'd be nice to not pass the buck to that council. I believe the data points presented are important as we continue to think about financial policy discussions and how we can pay for this rehabilitation as dared. As we talked about in this council, deferred maintenance may look like it's less expensive now, but with inflation and over time, it actually costs more and more and more. And I don't want to leave that to someone else. Secondly, I also, on the 11th, attended the Serenity House open house. It was my first time actually being in the facility, besides just at the reception area. Touring it provided me a lot of operational context. I was able to see updates that have been made to the shelter. I was surprised how much space is in the shelter. It was really nice. I was able to talk with a representative from Peninsula Housing Authority while I was there to kind of hear about how their work intersects with that. I was nice to know that how OPCC's respite program works and how they use the facility. I had heard about it in a conversation I had with OPCC CEO or Director Brandon about that. So it was nice to kind of see how all those organizations overlap, and I'm happy to see that they will be on our list of participants in this presentations on this vital topic. So it was nice to kind of see that and then kind of have some perspective as I heard our presenters today. Finally, moving forward, I will be attending I'll be attending the Marine Resources Committee meeting on the 23rd at 5:30 p.m. Hopefully the commissioners approve my appointment as the alternate to that at that point in time. I'm still waiting. I don't know how that works, but I'm looking forward to that and continuing to update council on our nearshore and marine habitat work as we move forward. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else mentioned how much is coming up in the next 2 weeks, and I think all of my meetings are between tomorrow and our next meeting. So I should have a more full report next meeting. But I will also be attending the Welcome Back Coho event on Thursday. I am participating in the bioregionalization conversation for Amy this month and next month. And then tomorrow night is Faro. And then it's after our next meeting, I'll just mention now because I think we've actually locked in a date. You may remember, I think I mentioned it at a council meeting that Chief Smith, Chief Sharp, and I were going to go speak at the Reimagining Community Safety and Wellbeing Conference in Victoria, which was, as it turns out, very inconveniently scheduled during the Coho's dry dock. Made it a little challenging and decided that the cost and time associated with getting there without the Coho was prohibitive. So we are going to go up, the three of us, to meet with the respective chiefs and mayor in Victoria on Friday, the 6th of March, to talk about what we were going to talk about at the conference. So I will be looking forward to reporting back on that at our second meeting in March. And I think that's all I have. So I will turn it over to Nathan.
Mayor and council, you have a number of great reports. Thank you to staff for putting together a number of really informative reports for this particular council meeting. Next week, I look forward to seeing all of you on Tuesday, the 24th of February, for a 2-hour work session to discuss the City Council's 2-year strategic plan and have the opportunity to provide updates to that plan. In addition to that, Council, we will be revisiting the Council Photo Group opportunity and be reaching out to all of you to confirm that we can get everyone's photo on the same day. And obviously that will no longer be taking place on March 3rd. Council, that's all I have for you this evening.
All right. This is slightly irregular, but I could use a break. So I thought I would check and see how many people are wishing to speak at the second public comment period, because if it's only 1 or 2, then we can wait. And if it's 8, then we should take a break. Is there any, if you are joining us virtually and want to speak at the public comment period, this is the time to raise your virtual hand. But otherwise, it looks like we might just have one. So Mr. Barbieri, go ahead and head on down and we will do public comment and then adjourn.
Okay. My name is Glenn Barbieri. I live in Bonadas. First of all, I'd like to apologize and explain what's been happening to me for the last 5 months. What's been happening in the last 5 months is the exact opposite of a psychotic break. I was on antipsychotic medications for about 24 years, and suddenly my brain woke up and everything broke loose all at once. Like a dam breaking. It was a catastrophe. I'm stabilizing, but I have to because, well, I'm getting ready for do brain surgery, so I have to calm down. This is my life is, my mantra is now, it's just another day. Now, something I've been tracking is NATO's response to Donald Trump. On the news today, they basically gave the United States an ultimatum. There are certain lines that cannot be uncrossed. This is a prelude to a declaration of war. Now, Napoleonic wars, World War I, World War II, war with Europe, we will lose. It may take 100 years, we will lose. They will annihilate us. The good news is, you won't have to acquisition new land for bigger cemeteries because there might not be anybody left to bury the dead. Yay! That kind of sucks. No, I don't want to die. That's why I'm going to get brain surgery so I can get better and live. So I said, okay, no more catastrophe thinking here. What can we do? We're all freaking out about what's going on. Everything we do to try to calm things down seems to make it worse. Well, so I had to do some research. There are 2 parts of the Constitution for removing the president. And perhaps even some more. There's Amendment 25, and there's Section 2, Article 2, Section 4. Now, NATO would say, okay, if you're going to do that, you have done it already. So we ain't going to listen to that. Because, you should have done that already about a year ago. You haven't. No problem. Well, there's one other section that nobody else is probably going to think of doing it the way I'm thinking of doing it. Article 5, Constitutional Convention. I say, how in the world is that going to stop anything? That makes no sense. Because the Constitutional Convention, that could take years, et cetera, et cetera. It ain't going to work. We don't have years. We have days, maybe, weeks. So how is that going to change anything? I have deduced a way to use Article 5 to potentially impeach them all, including the Supreme Court. Do you want to hear what my plan is or not?
How about we hear about it at the next meeting?
Okay, well, they may have a war next meeting. So is anybody could talk to in the meantime?
Yeah, we can, I can hang out for a few minutes after the meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anyone else? Okay, no hands online. So we are adjourned and we will be back here next week, Tuesday, 5 to 7 for a work session. Thank you all. Have a good evening.